It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Hi.
Hello.
Let's buy lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Let's buy
feeling good.
Let's buy lottery tickets with all the news that happened this week. And you were saying, you know, for gosh sakes, Iran doesn't have nukes anymore.
Right.
We saw what happened, everything this week in Gaza.
Right.
And moving forward on that. And here we've got new computers.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is a monumental day for Red Eye Radio.
listen, I know they're going to play music and want to go to a commercial before I'm done here, but I have some people to thank. A long list. First of all, my mom and dad. I was born at an early age. And what they taught me was to be grateful. And over the last 12 years, and waiting for our new computers, I remained grateful every step of the way. And now I am eternally grateful.
Yes.
That we are, have we double-checked? We are on Windows, whatever the latest Windows is.
I didn't even check. We're not on Windows 7 anymore.
We were, this time yesterday, we were on Windows 7. And that is not a joke.
No.
It is funny, but it's not a joke.
Let's not look at the past.
Right.
Let's look at let's be grateful. You just said we need to be grateful. Don't look at the past.
But to be grateful, you have to know where you were and how far you've come. We've jumped at least 4 windows in 24 hours. So
we're Windows 11.
We're being told by producer Ron
we're Windows 11.
Windows 11.
Now is that modern or is that past the year 2000?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just
Mine goes to 11. It's now the thing is, it's weird because also I'm used to coming in here and slowing down. You know, lighting a campfire, taking, the rabbit that I caught, skinning that, getting it ready for dinner, all of that, singing a cowboy song. And I don't mean the team because they don't have one. Yeah, they did. I think Beck sings that one. I'm a loser, baby. And so anyway, it's fast is the point. And I'm old. Now, when I go home, I'm not as old as I am when I'm here. See, I try and settle it down and come in and expect to, again, campfire, the whole thing. When I go home, I've got all the modern devices that everybody else has, Mm-hmm. I've got your cable television. I've got a landline phone. I've got a dial-up thing.
You and I have done a few shows with our phones.
We actually have. Yeah.
We really have.
True story. No, but we have we do it. It's kind of a smaller operation here in this building, and one guy works literally around the clock. Sean, our chief engineer,
Sean. We appreciate it, Sean.
And he's doing everything, and by that I mean everything. It's the reason we don't have a vending machine, because he also used to have to fill the vending machine when it went empty. It's like, there's no time for that. Bring your own snacks.
Didn't he do plumbing one time?
Oh, no, he does plumbing.
Yeah, I thought he did
whatever's
plumbing
going wrong with the building.
One time.
There's been, a roof issue, an air conditioning issue. I don't know how many times. All those issues. He manages the building, manages all the tech stuff, and then has to deal with us. So we have an over-under as to, how long he would last, and, where he would just say, and we would be the ultimate driver to push him over the edge where he would want to quit, just dealing with us in our immaturity. But Sean is a very capable individual and has done a great job. And he told the company, that, and I think the words he used is, Eric and Gary are heroes. They deserve the best. I'm going to stop everything right now for them and put their computers in. I think those were the exact words he used.
You are right, though, that they're so quick that I used to, go to another page. And as I'd hit to go to the other page, I'd sit there, have a 15-minute conversation with you, cup of coffee, and then go back, and the page would be up.
Right.
And now it's like I hit it, and boom, it's there. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit. It wasn't that bad.
Well, it's I start to go. I don't even have my right finger. It hasn't even clicked yet. It jumps to that page. It already knows what I'm ready to do. It's not autofill. It's prefill. But no, it's great that we just want to. This is our silly way of thanking Sean and everybody that made it happen. Actually, Sean is everybody that made it happen.
All right, so I guess we can at least mention the shutdown because that was a topic of conversation yesterday. Let's go to Speaker Johnson, all right?
Okay.
Let's start out with Speaker Johnson yesterday.
All right.
I don't know, I chuckled. I chuckled when he said something here. Here we go.
Okay.
Already engaged in responsible, open, bipartisan processes to find answers to these problems. And what Chuck Schumer means when he says that he wants us to negotiate is that he is demanding, and he said it publicly, I can't believe he says the quiet parts out loud sometimes, but he wants a backroom deal. He wants a backroom deal that the American people will never see. He literally has said, we need the top 4 leaders to go into a room and work this out. Why does Chuck Schumer say that? Because that's how he's operated for decades. He's been in Congress since 1980. I was 9 years old in the 3rd grade when Chuck Schumer got here. Okay.
Ouch. Ouch.
Like, wow.
Ouch.
Now, some of the things surrounding the shutdowns, Americans, and we talked about this, and in some of the polls, they were blaming Republicans more than Democrats, but the gap is beginning to narrow.
Yeah.
Only 6 points separate the parties. It's really weird because when you see the poll that says, should Democrats vote for it, it's like, yes.
Yeah.
We've done those polls, which when that was a week ago, it was 65, 66%?
Right.
Saying Democrats should not keep the government shut down. If they are given the opportunity to open up and a clean bill, they should vote for it. Yet, at the same time, Republicans were getting the blame.
Right.
Both can't be true.
Right.
That's got to be the way that you're asking the question in the polls.
It is the methodology.
Right? Because both can't be true.
Yeah. Right.
But it's this was from thehill.com. The poll finds more people are starting to blame Democrats for the shutdown. 11 points separated the two sides last week. Now it's only 6 points. So, you see the shift in polling data comes as the government is about to enter its 3rd week of the shutdown, with the standoff between the two parties showing no sign of waning anytime soon. So, that's really about it. There's not really a lot of discussion on the shutdown. The only thing I saw was that if what got the one shutdown that was 35 days long, what got that going was when airports started slowing down.
Yeah, which I think we touched on it about that time, saying, all right, this is where you get people's attention. But it's not a big, right now we're not at the heart of travel season. Here in about, 4 or 5 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, when we get to Thanksgiving week, if we're still shut down, then if it were Thanksgiving week, you'd have a problem.
One of the things we've talked about is in general in healthcare, that when it comes to government healthcare, nationalized healthcare, single payer system, whatever you want to say, it's failed every time a liberal state has tried it. And it's been 3 times. Once in California, once in Vermont, and once in Colorado. Every time liberals had the opportunity to get exactly what they claim is nirvana.
Right.
Why didn't they get it?
Can't pay for it.
And they couldn't pay for it. And so what you see is the push to do it on the national level because Democrats want to take, because they're the ones that are pushing for it. Even though Republicans, as we've talked about the last couple of years, really sort of like the subsidies, too, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Obamacare is going to be gone. Well, no, not the subsidies, just the mandates.
Right.
What? And we hit Republicans on that when that happened, and we'll continue to hit Republicans on it. But when you see the push politically to do it in states, you don't see any red state trying to do it. It's all blue states that have attempted to do it. But when it comes to paying for it and paying for it up front, you've got to pay for it now.
Yep.
Every time liberal states have said no, but it's okay. Let's do it on the national level, because then we will just have future generations pay for it. We'll make it part of the debt, and our children and grandchildren will pay for what we want today. The ultimate in selfishness. It is the worst thing. The debt that we have acquired and what we have done and how we have justified it is the worst thing that we have done domestically. Democrats get the majority of the blame. Republicans, though, are moving up in the blame.
Oh, yeah. Nobody's screaming right now about the national debt, with the exception of a few of us.
Right. Nobody's screaming about it. Nobody's screaming about the interest on the interest on the debt right now. One of every $5 is completely wasted.
Yep.
Before you even get to the waste in government, we need to get rid of waste in the government. Well, the interest on the debt is one out of every $5.
Yep.
20%.
Which, by the way, you start putting if we were to put more massive costs on future taxpayers, those future taxpayers would get younger and younger, and next thing you know, it'd be us. Because you reach that threshold, it would be, oh, wait a minute, we got to pay it now.
Now, saw this in National Review. Sally Pipes wrote this, that Democrats quietly pull back on Medicaid for illegal immigrants in the states, which is why they want the money from the federal government.
Yes.
That's why they want the money from the federal government. I'm trying to tie this all in and connect the dots. Over the past few months, Democratic governors in California, Minnesota, and Illinois have all arrived at the same conclusion. It's not practical to offer taxpayer-funded health insurance to undocumented immigrants.
Right.
In addition, now, do you hear any criticism from Democrats on that?
Nope.
No. It's only Republicans. In addition to being wildly expensive, such open-ended subsidizing jeopardizes health care access for vulnerable U.S. citizens who need the safety net most: single mothers, pregnant women, the elderly, and the disabled. Even the most vocal champions of undocumented immigration, including California Governor Gavin Newsom, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, are acknowledging this reality. All three have either frozen or curtailed Medicaid coverage for these populations in recent months. That's why they want the federal dollars.
Yep.
They want the federal dollars because they're not willing to do it themselves. They don't want to take responsibility. We talked about that earlier this week.
Yep.
It's like, yeah. I'm here, and we mentioned it like in sports, the former Penn State coach who got fired, and I saw the day before, I take full responsibility for our 3-game losing streak. And then the next day, he's fired and will collect $48 million. And we made the point, it doesn't seem like the people that always take full responsibilities are the ones that have signed a contract that ensures that they never have to take any responsibility,
right,
that they get paid everything full and they don't have to work anymore.
Exactly.
That's not probably what people think when they say, I'm going to take full responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But same here. They don't want to take full responsibility. They want health care for illegal immigrants on the backs of future generations of your children and grandchildren, just like health care.
Yep.
Did I connect all the dots? I think I did there. Yeah.
I think so.
Yep. As Newsom recently said, I don't want to be in this position, but we are in this position. Well, he is only himself to blame. Newsom, after all, has aggressively expanded eligibility for Medi-Cal, the state's public health insurance program, over the past decade. Today, 1.6 million undocumented people residing in California are enrolled in Medi-Cal, which covers roughly 15 million people in total. The expansion hasn't come cheap. It is estimated that the state spends $8.5 billion each year providing Medi-Cal coverage to undocumented residents. So when they sit there on their high horse and say that health care should be for everyone, what they mean is only if the federal government will borrow the money and take it from future generations are they for health care for undocumented, for illegal immigrants. If they have to do it themselves and pay for it now, they're all backing off from it.
Right. Because they can't take full responsibility.
So spare me your universal compassion. I have universal compassion for somebody else to pay for something else.
Well, basically,
I don't wish to pay for it.
For us for future generations here in America to pay for everybody else's health care around the world. Because if you start this, if illegals get free health care, what do you think's going to happen at the border?
Oh, yeah.
My gosh, the moment we start this, it will never end.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. Do you think that Time Magazine thinks they're getting a win by having that picture of Trump, while at the same time, you know, the head, I don't have it here in front of me, but the headline compliments him.
Yeah.
But
his triumph is the headline on Time Magazine.
Right.
And the picture looks like he has very little hair on top. And he wrote, "They disappeared my hair."
Well, isn't that the one also that is like, it's like the camera angle is 6 inches below his chin?
Yeah, I mean, this angle is definitely below his chin. I don't know how far, but yeah, for sure.
It's below his chin shooting up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a profile.
Yeah.
It's not a direct look at his face. It's not him speaking.
Right.
Who the hell ever takes a picture where the camera is beneath the chin looking up?
Well, I don't remember a photographer ever being at that position.
Yeah, exactly. I've never seen that ever in any We've seen some bad pictures.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
we had mentioned the profile on the beach of Trump in Israel, which was awesome.
Yeah, that actually was very cool.
That was awesome. But when I burst out laughing because you know what I thought? All right, we have to say, okay, yeah, he did a good job here, but let's make him look horrible.
Yeah.
So we'll have the camera a foot or 6 inches below his chin and shoot up.
Yeah. Well, were they looking, are they looking for the willfully ignorant to say his triumph? I don't know who that guy is. Because
I didn't know who it was. If you wouldn't have told me, it would have taken me a few seconds to figure out who it was.
And so they're looking for people to look at and go, oh, okay. So you're giving credit to this guy, but I don't know who he is.
Yes.
It's not Trump.
And they think it's a victory for them.
Right.
And we showed him.
Yeah.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Quickly, let's go through quickly. Do we do anything quickly?
No.
Let's just go through the story of what's going on at the Pentagon concerning the press and the new rules and regulations that were put in. Journalists faced a 5 p.m. deadline yesterday to sign the Pentagon's access agreement or surrender their credentials. You had the New York Times, Washington Post, Washington Times, Washington Examiner, Newsmax, CNN, The Atlantic, and Reuters, among others, say they're not going to sign it. Now, initially, when it came out, the story said that you would need permission to write a story that, concerned the Pentagon. The Pentagon came out a couple of days later and said that's completely false. Mm-hmm. You and I found that interesting because there was a delay in the response to that.
Right.
We were like, we figured that Trump would be on that the next day, and he wasn't. And we went, well, you're not going to win that one. What they claim now, besides the fact that you need to be escorted to certain places in the Pentagon, I understand that completely.
Sure.
If you're media,
sure.
They should know you're media.
Yeah.
There should be no mistake whatsoever. They have the absolute right to do that. Now, Newsmax, again, one of the biggest supporters, as we know, of Donald Trump, did not sign it. And let me read you what they said. Newsmax has taken a strong stand against Pentagon press restrictions that it has called a threat to press freedom and government transparency. The Department of War recently introduced a new set of rules governing how reporters interact with department officials, including a ban on reporting on classified information, sparking widespread criticism. Under the proposed policy, media organizations would be required to sign an agreement to adhere to specific guidelines before gaining access to Pentagon officials and information. Newsmax and other critics say these restrictions represent undue limitation on press freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. In response, Newsmax announced that it will not sign the Pentagon's new press agreement, joining a number of other outlets in voicing concern about the potential chilling effect on independent journalism. Newsmax warned that the Pentagon's move will create a terrible precedent in covering future presidential administrations, including Democrat ones. Newsmax has no plans to sign the letter. The network said in a statement released Monday, we are working in conjunction with other media outlets to resolve the situation. We believe the requirements are unnecessary and hopes the Pentagon will review the matter further. Newsmax emphasizes longstanding commitment to constitutional rights of free press and free speech, principles that the outlet has frequently defended in the face of political and institutional pressure. Newsmax has long advocated its First Amendment rights. We believe those rights extend to all press institutions, even the ones we disagree with. We believe Newsmax has the right to publish classified information without the permission of the government. We cannot sign a letter that says we do not. Newsmax expressed hope that the Department of War will revise the rules to align more closely with the principles of a free and open press. Newsmax's position has been widely noted in major national outlets. The Associated Press reported that multiple news outlets say they won't sign new Pentagon rules of access, identifying Newsmax as one of several organizations that declined to endorse the agreement. It says media organizations like Fox News and the Washington Times are also opposing the new restrictions. I didn't see Fox News on the list that didn't sign it, though. I did see the Washington Times. Mm-hmm. Here's the point that they're making. I don't think you can win that in the arena of public ideas, the media. If you go in the arena of public opinion, I don't think you can win that as a news source. But I do understand where they're coming from on it. And it's from the point that if you agree to do that, they will classify everything, including things that shouldn't be classified. One of the biggest things of discussion about classified material is that they classify everything. including things that have nothing to do with national security. We've seen it before. We've seen where Congress can't even get information because they're told, well, no, it's classified. And I think that I didn't see I think that when you come out and say it the way that they did, which was, let me just get it here, where they said, we have the right to release classified information. Or there it is. We believe Newsmax has a right to publish classified information without permission of this government. I don't think you're going to win that in the arena of public opinion, but I understand where they're coming from. You're never going to get to anything. We look at Russia collusion, for example. How much of that was classified that they couldn't get to?
Yeah, right.
How much of everything that we have seen that has been bogus and has been government, government without question violating the rights of American citizens, and they classify it. And there's no reason to classify it except you don't want to get caught.
Well,
doing wrong things, and that's, I think, what Newsmax, if Fox News won't sign it, what Fox News, what the Washington Times, Washington Examiner, conservative outlets, and supporters of Trump, even though Trump wouldn't include Fox News the last couple of weeks,
well,
as a supporter of him.
Yeah. But it's, because, again, it gives them basically, you don't have access, hand over your press badges, unless you're going to agree to this pledge of just basically going on, it would be press releases or an official interview with someone at the Pentagon that's approved, because where would you draw that line? If the focus, they say, is on classified information, but they also use the term unauthorized information, which can be the same thing.
And might not be the same thing as classified.
Might not be the same thing, and who determines that? And then, again, what does the protocol become then? Because at that point, then if you're going to, because if I'm in the press, if I'm running a media company, my thought here is, look, I'm all about not putting out top secrets that could endanger people's lives just to get us some clicks on our website. However, if I have to, if that exchange here is the only other option is authorized material, which means you really don't have any access. If we're just doing press releases, I don't need a press badge for the Pentagon. You're telling me I don't even need you guys will send it to me if you think it's worthy.
Right.
And so, I don't know what the happy medium is here. And I get it, too, because in the age of very dangerous leaks and very dangerous behavior, like you pointed out in the Russian hoax thing, because it was key to Hillary's plan for the media to report that the FBI was looking into the Trump campaign and colluding with the Russians. The way that she set it up then basically required the FBI to look at it officially, and then she ran to the media and said, look, they're officially looking into this. And the media said, yes. Now, there's a massive ton of manipulation that's already gone ahead of that. And so if you wanted to, which, by the way, they still could do, manipulate information and get it to the media, I suspect that's going to happen. The question is, does Hegseth believe, or does the president believe, that they have a firm control or system protocol procedures in place, a process that has all but stopped the leaks because, the leaks were a big problem. By the way, they were for the Trump White House. They were in his first term. It was like, I mean, it was just insane.
Right, but the leaks were coming from. It wasn't the media investigating. It was the leaks were coming from people that Trump hired.
Well, and
people that disagreed with Trump that were bureaucrats who he didn't hire. It's a combination of both.
There are times when you leak things deliberately. You're leaking them because you want that propaganda out there. You want the enemy or would-be enemy to see that.
Right. Well, the thing is, I think also the press is irked. Even the conservative press is irked because of the Hegseth signal thing. The Inspector General, they've completed it.
Yeah.
They completed it September 15th.
Right.
They sent it to him. They sent it to him. He gets to review it if he wants to comment back on it. But they've come to their conclusion of whether Hegseth released classified information, with the whole signal chat thing, or unauthorized whatever. Because I'm so glad you brought it up, because if you say unauthorized and classified, they're two different things.
Right. They can be the same thing, but they're not always the same thing.
Right, exactly.
And that's the whole thing. If I'm looking at it from, and we have friends over at the Washington Times, we have friends in the media. We've, in fact, had some correspondence recently with our friends at the Washington Times. They listen to the show. Thank you guys for listening. Hey, guys, we got new computers. Doing a little bragging.
Hopefully the government can't get into these.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll tell you, the government couldn't get into the old ones. That's for sure. Nobody could. We couldn't. But if you're looking at it, and you're saying, okay, look, I've got some key people, a couple of key people from our media organization that cover the Pentagon, and they're saying you have to pledge to not print or report any unauthorized material. Well, wait a minute. You're basically saying then I need to, in turn, it feels like you're telling me I need to be a spokesperson for the Pentagon. And I know that's technically not what's going on here, but it feels that way because the media true journalism is, by the way, I believe, plays a critical role in a free society. I've said that a million times. And I also believe there is a call you have to make as an editor, as the head of a news organization. If you believe you're publishing something that might be cause a danger to Americans abroad or something like that, if it's sensitive information. But then again, there's also times when you don't know how sensitive that information might be.
I just want to quickly go back to the Russia collusion again in the most perfect example. Mm-hmm. When Devin Nunes wanted it released from the intelligence files that there was no collusion through Trump.
Right.
And they said they can't release it. We'll let Adam Schiff. And Adam Schiff said, no, the evidence is there. He colluded with the Russians, but we can't release it because it's classified. There was nothing classified because how can there be anything classified when nothing showed that Trump colluded with the Russians?
Right.
And that's the point that I think the conservatives are making in this, that classifying information is used, classifying something has been used in order to hide wrongdoing and falsehoods.
Right.
866-98 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here because you've got a lot of the major news organizations, including a lot of conservative pro-Trump organizations that are saying no.
Yeah.
to the Pentagon. So will there be a standoff, or they'll just say, okay, we're not going to cover. We're just going to do our stories anyway. We just won't be in the Pentagon. We'll just use our sources to do that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's
but that's what it comes down to, and you and I know it. It's the fact that we have seen that classified information, things that have been classified, that the media has broken.
Yeah,
that has been used when government is classifying things in order to hide it from the public, and it's got nothing to do with national security or protecting boots on the ground or whatever. And over-classifying is something that's been talked about for the last 30 years in this
Even
country.
when some of them are testifying on Capitol Hill, talking to Republicans, well, we can't give you that information. It's classified. We'll have to do this behind closed doors, or, well, I'll have to get back to you, or whatever.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. We do appreciate it, as always, and we really do appreciate it that you're here with us.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much.
All right, this is completely off the topic, but I heard this and I had one thought. Okay, you ready?
All right.
I'm actually going to play an audio cut from Governor DeSantis. Really has nothing to do with anything in the current events, but it made me think of something when I saw this. Okay?
All right.
Here we go.
We beat the left and we beat people like George Soros on crime. You have in this country these prosecutors that are funded by Soros and other organs of the left, and they get in and they have an agenda to simply not prosecute criminals. We see it in Philadelphia with this guy Krasner. Has been a total disaster and has harmed a lot of people because of the dereliction of duty. Well, we have had two Soros prosecutors in Florida, one in Tampa and one in Orlando, and I removed both of them from their posts. And I'm the only governor in the country to do that.
Is he running for 2028? Remember, he's done January of 27. He's term limited out.
Right. Well, I thought about that because I thought, who makes a good running mate if you're going to be, if J.D. Vance is going to run, which it's assumed he would. Is it a Governor DeSantis? Is it a Marco Rubio?
Well,
or do you have a real primary, on the stage, and then it's pared down, and then you get down to where a couple of them or one of them is a good VP candidate for ultimately J.D. Vance if he performs well during the primary.
Well, I guess this is on the we haven't really talked about this the umbrella issue. You can look at. I was telling you that Marjorie Taylor Greene saying GOP members of Congress are weak, and you and I both laughing. She's moving away from Trump, as we can see very slowly. She's moving away from Trump. She was one of the most loyal Trump supporters out there. We know that what Trump is going to be doing in Ukraine, there is a significant portion of right-wing MAGA. There's a number of demographics that vote for Trump, even though if you look at Republicans overall, they love what he's doing with Israel. But there was a significant portion of MAGA that was calling, that are isolationist and believe Trump was an isolationist. And we have said, wow, what is that? So you see what's going on there. We know that there's challenges coming up for him over the next year before the midterms.
Yeah.
The whole rare earth thing, where China's now holding back on rare earth materials.
Right.
And, then we're going to throw 100% tariffs on them, and then the panic there. We know manufacturing down 7 months in a row.
Right. Yeah.
We know prices have not been controlled.
Right.
So that is when you talk about, there are conservatives out there that look and say, do we want a continuation of this with J.D. Vance? And so again, you've got another 2 years, but it's not even the same on online. Trump doesn't have the far right, whatever that means. I mean, should I say the far, because you can be far right, not crazy, but the lower loomers out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's not there. There's a core of people that used to be, totally pro-Trump on everything. You don't see that as much anymore. Even the influencers, the young influencers that are in their 30s, for example, you don't see that, anymore. The question was brought up after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Was he actually MAGA? Was he? And it was brought up by people that consider themselves total Trump supporters that he came before Trump.
Yeah.
His message was out there beforehand.
Right.
And I just wonder if it's opening up. There's been, a couple of articles in conservative publications. Is J.D. Vance necessarily the guy?
No, I've been wondering that in recent days, actually.
Is he the shoo-in? Because the Republican Party, even though I believe they are united for Trump and generally for all of what the Republicans stand for on the umbrella issues of not being crazy like the Democrats on so many of the social issues out there, and on illegal immigration being strong and everything else, there's still a lot of challenges and a lot of things they look at in this administration and go, I don't know, this better work. I don't know, this better work. I don't know, this better work.
The question I posed to myself was this. It's actually a few questions. It is, in 28, is it going to be required that you're MAGA in order to get to the top of that ticket?
Whatever that means, whatever MAGA means.
And also, is that standard fortified by another requirement that basically says it doesn't matter how MAGA you are if you're not Donald Trump himself?
Yes.
The point being that J.D. Vance, great. I don't think you could call Mike Pence MAGA. I don't think there was ever a time where you could call Mike Pence
all right.
MAGA.
You're setting the the
spectrum.
You're setting the spectrum.
Yes.
Okay, the line in the sand.
Yes. But at some point, there has to be, in moving forward with it, you want to move forward with the agenda and the tone, certainly, as taking the reins as commander-in-chief from Donald Trump. You're going globally. We need somebody like him who can set that tone and is not afraid to stand down, but is also has a process in place that brings about a diplomacy in a very unique way. And I don't know if that can be accomplished outside of, again, the person that is Donald Trump.
Well, you make a great point, though. Is it not necessarily because I think MAGA has become, the concept of when you say MAGA has become diluted.
Right.
I just think it has. I mean, when you got to the point where, what was it? What was the issue a couple of weeks ago? Was it Israel? No. It was when Trump, went after Putin.
Yeah.
And you had self-appointed, self-identified MAGA people saying Trump isn't MAGA anymore, to the point where we were in hysteria here, going, but he is MAGA.
Actually,
there is no MAGA but him.
Right.
You can say, well, this person isn't MAGA anymore. But you can't say that about Trump because He is MAGA.
Well,
even
at the risk of blasphemy here, it's like saying, well, Jesus isn't Christian. You know, it's like he started the whole thing.
And so I've just been noticing, and when I just saw it made me think about it, because it's been in the news, and conservative places have covered it. We've just been so concerned with the current events over the last couple of weeks. I just didn't think about it until I saw, DeSantis there. But is it not that you have to get the blessing of necessarily the demographic of MAGA, but it's the fact that the Republican Party wants people that won't crumble? You know, because
yes. Well, what is the basis of MAGA? And that is
right.
The people who are going to, and we see them, the people from the administration who don't sit there and take it from on Capitol Hill if they're testifying, lawmakers, they just hand it right back to them. And I had asked that question in the first term for Donald Trump. Who's going to be there in the Republican Party that is willing to fight? And I think we're seeing a number of people now in place that are willing to fight. So is the future of not necessarily the MAGA movement, but the Republican Party, as it evolves and goes forward, taking the very essence of MAGA, and that is, the whole fight thing. That's critical, that you do not lay down, that you do not just give in to the left and this whole reaching across the aisle thing, all this garbage that we've heard in the past. And so I think it's a great point.
So you've got right now, I look at it and on my list, just off the top of my head, I didn't even plan talking about this. When I just saw the DeSantis thing, I went, oh, is he running? You've got right now, it could change, but right now, the people that are perceived by the Republican Party who won't compromise would be J.D. Vance, DeSantis, and I wouldn't have thrown his name in there 6 months ago, Marco Rubio.
Yes.
And I can't believe I'm throwing Marco Rubio in there. Yeah. But in politics, things evolve. And if you hear Trump talking about him, I mean, some of the stuff Trump was saying in front of the Knesset was just unbelievable about, Rubio. This is the finest Secretary of State of all time. And I'm like, wow.
Well, and it's, I would say that experience as Secretary of State, and also his own evolution that we've talked about in recent days, Marco Rubio's, qualifies him in a unique way that DeSantis hasn't earned yet, just simply because he doesn't have that same experience. He does as governor, which is, that's highly important. The experience of governing. We talked about Biden never, ever, once in his career had to govern until he became president. And that's, it was proven that he's not capable of governing. So Governor DeSantis has that advantage over Rubio. But this is.
I'm not going
those three individuals right now, I think, are part of the core strength of the Republican Party at this moment. If that holds until 2028.
Well, I say that from the point of their public persona.
Yeah.
You can make the case that Governor Abbott in Texas has done a great job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But he isn't loud. He is, let me put it, not that he can't be, he's not loud. I know him. He's not a loud kind of guy. He's well known for what he did and viewed by the Republicans because of the whole bus thing of sending migrants to the liberal cities,
right,
as somebody who gets the job done, but he's not really in the arena of ideas every day.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right, yeah.
Where DeSantis, of course, DeSantis doesn't have the same high profile as a J.D. Vance and a Marco Rubio because they're involved in it every day, but he is a national figure.
Yeah.
DeSantis is and so remember, you're not even talking about the primary season starting to begin.
No.
Until what? At least 2 years from now. Yeah, 2 years from now we'll be in it. And so I just look at it that the traditional, I don't know how to label them, right-wing MAGA isn't happy about even the talk of the Tomahawk missiles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they agreed with Trump when Trump was scolding Zelensky.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't believe they're a majority of the support that Trump has. It's trying to define what MAGA is, which I think as every day goes by, it becomes more diluted.
Yeah, and again, weighting those priorities with that particular group.
But then part of it was the mindset that they believed that Trump was an isolationist, which, if you've been listening to the show, we've been saying for years, we have no idea where they've come up with that from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Trump is showing that he's anything but an isolationist.
Right.
Anything. You know, he doesn't want boots on the ground, but he's not an isolationist. The U.S. stamp, the Trump stamp is on everything right now around the world.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you could make the argument that there isn't a stronger president on foreign policy and wanting to be involved in foreign policy and willing to take the responsibility of foreign policy as a leader of the world. You can make the argument he's one of the strongest in modern American politics.
Yeah, easily, I think. He's not a ribbon cutter.
You know, you can look at Reagan and how he stood down the Soviet Union. Now, remember, everything was different back then.
Mm-hmm. And access to the president is,
right,
24/7 now.
And he stayed strong, but look at the number of things that Trump has been involved in just in the first, 9 months?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so
hands-on,
I think it's also changing the perception of him from a lot of moderates out there.
But it's also changing, it's raising the bar in terms of the role of the commander-in-chief. You know, and hopefully that's what the Republican Party is.
From where the Republican Party was headed, which people believed was more isolationist.
Right.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Pumpkins in the fall perhaps conjures visions of a decorative home display or a pumpkin pie dessert with the Thanksgiving meal. But Carol Connell of the Alabama Cooperative Extension System says more consumers should think of pumpkin as a year-round superfood.
If you're someone who really, really enjoys cooking, you can buy pumpkin when it's fresh in the fall and prepare it easily to be frozen so that you can use it throughout the year.
Not to mention processed pumpkin available anytime in supermarkets and retailers. When it comes to nutrition,
it's really quite nutrient dense, which just means that it packs a lot of nutrients like vitamins and minerals for every calorie that it contributes to the diet.
And beyond pumpkin pie, Connell says it's a versatile fruit with many ways to prepare it. And yes, I said fruit.
It's actually a fruit because it grows from a flower that has to be pollinated by pollinating insects like bees.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so it was just a thought that I had, and the discussion was off the top of our head. But still, when I saw DeSantis speaking, I went, is he running? And then I just started thinking about the discussions over the last couple of weeks about, whether J.D. Vance is nothing against, he hasn't done anything wrong. It's it's just when you see, and there's been an evolution of Trump. Trump is not the same president that he was in the first term.
No.
Now he's not undergoing the same crap that he had to go through in the first term, but he's not. And right now, and I think I got to find the audio cut from Geraldo Rivera saying basically he's Elvis now, and right now he's at he's at the top of his game right now.
Yeah.
But it's important because one thing that we talk about when we talk about the three strongest candidates, you look at a DeSantis, you look at a J.D. Vance, and we even added Marco Rubio because just what Trump has been saying about him. But really, everything depends on if they lose big next year in Congress, everything changes.
Yep.
At that point.
Yep.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. But yeah, when you look at the Republican Party right now, the point is, who knows who's going to be president in 2028? Right now, probably J.D. Vance has the odds makers would probably have him as number one. But I've just, with when I saw Newsom doing that, I go, is he thinking of running again? He won't be doing anything in all of 2027. He'll be done in January 2027. It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And with the resurgence of Marco Rubio, and we had said this before Trump. The last couple of days, Trump just can't say enough about him. And I looked at you and I said, is Marco Rubio becoming the S word? And it's something that you don't hear anymore. You just don't hear it anymore. You don't hear the term statesman. But it's somebody out there who's negotiating and getting world deals done.
Yeah.
You go back, you might want to look at something like a Henry Kissinger.
That's actually what I was thinking Monday night. Right.
And so I think that, it's not that J.D. Vance has done anything wrong. I just look and you and I have talked about this a lot because those that call themselves MAGA, and we've always asked the question, who is MAGA? Well, except for Trump, you can have a great conversation on who is MAGA. And then back a couple of weeks ago after the whole Zelensky thing when Trump went after Putin, and now you can say that right at this point, today, Trump is on the Ukraine side. You started hearing people that are self-identified MAGA that said Trump isn't MAGA anymore. And we went, how can that be? That's impossible. But I think that with Trump, what he's doing right now, I agree with Geraldo. We'll play that audio cut coming up here in just a couple of moments. He is at the top of the heap. What he has done is incredible. But I don't believe any of it matters come the midterm next year. I don't think there are, any coattails on anything of any peace deal. I still believe, and we brought you three different former Trump, J.D. Vance advisors who said, it's the economy. And that's prices. Prices have not come down. They have gone up.
Yeah.
And you may say they haven't gone up as much as before. That doesn't matter. Right. There are people who voted for Trump and voted for Republicans because they believed that prices would come down.
Yeah, I mean, if you get into 26, and we're also looking at right now a jobs market that is it's kind of on the brink right now. We'll see what the Fed does. There's more talk about Jerome Powell lowering rates. The next meeting is October 28th, but he would announce any rate move on the 29th. And it's expected, because of the minutes from the meetings, that the Fed would go two more moves on the downward side with the rate. Which, okay, if that's going to be enough, I question whether that would be enough, and what happens in the job situation. Everything for me really gets back to what the court may decide on tariffs.
Yeah.
And we're not going to see that, until sometime at the end of the year.
Right.
So, those moves then maybe, I don't know. I don't know where it goes. So the question is, you get into 26, you brought this up before the bottom of the hour. It bears repeating that if you're not doing well in the midterms, if your party can't handle that, can't get it done in the midterms, and it could be that the violent left and the radical left and all the concerns that come with it are enough to keep the Republicans at least in the balance where they are now. Maybe they don't gain many seats, but they keep the House and the Senate. It could be. But if you've got more and more job losses as we get into 26, hearts and minds will change on a dime.
Well, not just job losses. It's prices.
No, I think prices has been the pressure from the beginning because it's what you lined out, but it's compounded by the job losses.
Yes.
Even at if you look at 5 or 6% unemployment, it means the overwhelming majority of people are employed, but it feels like somebody or somebody in your household who's not making as much. They've been laid off. You're hearing about layoffs. And that's the fear building in people's minds.
We told the Biden administration, ignore prices to your own peril. And it killed them. We said the same thing to the Trump administration. Mm-hmm. You've got to pay attention to prices. You can't ignore it. I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, I haven't heard any talk about how much the tariffs are bringing in. Mm-hmm. Because we said the worst thing you can do as a Republican president is boast about taxing American corporations. The whole argument that foreign countries pay the tariffs, that's gone.
Well, Scott Bessent ended that twice.
Yeah, he ended that twice. American companies do it. When you're bragging as a Republican that you're taxing American companies, whether it's passed down, all of it's passed down to the consumer or not, when that's your number one bragging point about the economy, conservatives look at the other stuff you're doing and saying, okay, but let's still see what happens here. Let's see what happens here. They don't agree with it. Mm-hmm. And they're worried about it. And so what happens now with the rare earth stuff with China? If 100% tariffs go in then, they we'll be able to come to some type of a deal. But it's why we said early on, the goal should have been, and we said this in Trump's first term, the least of your problems, if you want to solve the problem, unify with Canada, Mexico, Europe, and the friendly countries in Asia. And you go up against China. And if India is a problem, you go up against India. Or in the first term, we thought they were going to try to make a deal with India in order to bypass a lot of China. But when it comes to rare earths, materials that are absolutely needed, that's where the goal should have been, to unite the world against China. Not make enemies with your long-term trading partners, that you could work that out.
Well, and the editors at National Review, China's rare earth dominance must end. Ending the West dependency on China in this area will be expensive, but it's a price that we will have to pay. Well, that's long term. And so you
Well,
have
but-
to deal with what's going on right now. And I agree. There are things, I think it is a great national security concern and must be done.
Well, they even talk about tariffs and that Adam Smith in that case would agree with tariffs, and so would we.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you did. But the tariffs should have been focused on China and those really involved in unfair trading practices.
We've literally been saying this for years.
Right.
And that is, and I've said it again and again, and I still believe it, that if Trump can't get that done on intellectual property rights and unfair practices with China, then it will never be done. There won't be the political will to get it done.
But you made a point about the Supreme Court, and it's not just there.
Mm-hmm.
Everything could be in the Republicans' advantage if the Supreme Court comes in and says Trump's tariffs are unconstitutional, number one. And then the second ruling would be all minority-majority districts are unconstitutional. You can't use race. CNN did a thing. Republicans pick up 19 seats.
Yeah, that would be huge. It would be massive. Yeah.
So, those two, because if they came out and said what Trump is doing on the tariffs is unconstitutional, even by the time you figured out, because I didn't even get to read it, but there's somebody who was saying, well, you could tax companies in a different way to tariff them, and I'm like, you're not going to get Congress to pass taxes on companies.
You're having to change tax law, and that's not going to happen on Capitol Hill.
So if you did it, you still have the problem maybe of China's unfair trading practices, but maybe you get back to unifying the world against China. But the fact is, it would open up cheaper products and lower prices over that price, or moderate prices over the period between now and next year.
And it also removes a huge question mark hanging over the head of the market, in general.
Of companies investing,
and that's, where do we go long term? What do we invest in long term? What do we need to be prepared for? And that's, if you couple that with possibly two more rate decreases from the Fed, and borrowing goes up, investment in housing goes up, all of those things happening in 26 would be huge. It would be a steady road in the right direction if they all did happen. But I think right now we're just kind of sitting here waiting for SCOTUS.
But what is, and I don't know what SCOTUS is going to do.
I have no idea.
It could be 5-4 to say what Trump is doing is constitutional.
Right.
Then what does he do to bring down prices?
Right.
I don't know. I have no idea what you do at that point.
Yeah. No, I don't know what the game is. If everything remains on tariffs, I don't know.
Yeah. Now, will you get more trade deals if these countries, because, they talk about the unprecedented trade deals, these are all framework of trade deals. There is no solid trade deal with any country right now.
Right.
And so if the Supreme Court comes out and says, okay, it's constitutional, then will more countries come to the table?
No, that's a great point. I think it changes, if they look at it and say, if they're waiting for SCOTUS to save them on, our counterparts, the other nations, on tariffs, and SCOTUS comes back and says, no, Trump can do this, then it's up to them to negotiate a better deal if they believe Trump is going to hold the line on tariffs, and that could well be the case.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Okay, I did promise the Geraldo Rivera audio cut. All right, on Trump. Here we go.
He is Elvis now. He is the biggest movie star on earth, the most charismatic. As he walks around with the power of the American empire, infusing him with with confidence and power. And he is a leader. He seizes the moment and is really putting his long experience to work to solving these problems. And he's got some real problems to solve. But bringing this group together, though, that's the sheer force of personality. There's no one that could have done that. I don't think Ronald Reagan could have done that. Maybe Roosevelt is the last president who could have summoned the world or the part of the world that you're most concerned with here. And to essentially to choreograph this historic breakthrough.
I mean, I hate to say this, but I agree with Geraldo Rivera.
I think Geraldo, we can say this. Geraldo agrees with us because it's something we actually said the other night.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
It is unique to this particular president.
Yeah, it is.
Those skills of bringing, this group together. And it isn't just his celebrity. I do believe that's part of it. We talked about it during the 24 campaign when he would make appearances, when he walked in, before Biden, especially before Biden dropped out, but it applied to Kamala Harris too. You make the comparison. When Trump walks into a room, he owns the room. With Biden, that wasn't the case. With Kamala Harris, that wasn't the case. But he's got those skills, again, along with that personality.
But none of it happens. The personality is secondary.
Mm-hmm.
What counts is that now the world knows he's serious.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
The world's largest exporter of terrorism, your nuclear program is gone.
Right.
Hamas, either you deal or you die, and they believed him.
Right. I guess my comment was on the Elvis effect that Geraldo.
Yeah, I know,
was,
but
it's
right, but
it has to be. Well, it's like what we said. It has to be what we said the other day. There has to be substance there.
Right.
What is that substance? You have to believe he will act.
It's not just celebrity that's getting him there.
Sure.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.